Well, Kyle Larson, they kicked everybody's butt. That was the description that everybody gave, and that's what it looked like. Kyle Larson and his team, when they're on it, they're very hard to beat. What'd you guys see Sunday night?
Yeah, I think it was exactly that. It certainly didn't start out that way, and everything that we had heard leading up and watched in practice, and even the qualifying race on Saturday, certainly wasn't that Kyle Larson seemed to be a huge favorite, like it turned out that he should have been. But I think it just speaks to the talent of this young man, that being able to adapt, which is something that I think as a dirt racer, I've only done dirt racing probably a handful of times, but I think that's something that you really have to adapt. And that's something my dad always told me, that you had to really change more on dirt and willing to move around and adapt to conditions. And Kyle Larson just seemed to do that better than anyone else. His crew chief did a great job putting him in a best position by getting those tires early on in that first segment of the race. And that certainly made the difference with his driving abilities.
Yeah. And listen, I agree 100%. I think the two things was that early call. And I would have never believed that tires would have made that huge a difference, because he drove back through the pack. Other guys didn't drive back through the pack. They got close, but they didn't drive through like Larson did. But I think that ability of Larson to find the sweet spot, on a racetrack. We've seen him so many times go to the wall and find that sweet spot, 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches off the wall. This time, he found that sweet spot up off 4, down on the flat with all 4 tires on that concrete. He came off of turn 4. He would float into 3 and turn and come straight back across the racetrack, and it was just a straight shot. There were a couple of camera angles where the other guys were out making a corner, and he was cutting across the grass, headed to the house, man. That's the way it was. And it was like a 10th, 2 tenths. 2.5 tenths. I mean, it was just lap after lap after lap. They seemed to be able to kind of roll with him everywhere else, but that one place gained him that much momentum. And I think that's just a tribute to Kyle Larson as a driver and his willingness to go and search and find other places on the racetrack, where a lot of guys just get that tunnel vision, get locked in on, my car is not working. It worked here yesterday in practice, but it won't work here today, so I'm done. Kyle Larson searches.
Yeah, what's cool about that, I was there for practice on Friday, and nobody ran there. I mean, nobody said, hey, we're going to run down here. Like, that was a game time decision. Like, let's try this. And it worked. I did see a few people try it, but it wasn't working for anybody. But once he started doing it, then like the entire field started doing it. And I just think that, as you guys have said, that's a tribute to he and Cliff Daniels during the race. I mean, Kyle Larson sitting there leading the race pretty handily, and Cliff Daniels is like, you could be a little better here. You might could find a little speed there. Like, I absolutely love that. But guys, not everybody accepts that. Not every driver could be out there leading the race like that and hear, hey, you need to be a little better here. Like 70% would be, shut up. I don't want to hear you. I got it. But he absorbs it. And I think that's a really strong point for this team, that they're willing to push each other like that. Yeah,
I agree. And it takes a certain mindset. And Kyle Larson is all about taking in information and using it to his best advantage. And I'll ask you guys, I found it interesting this week to hear him say that he really didn't get on the sim this week or previous weeks to see what North Wilkesboro was like, because he didn't want to know. He says that sometimes that messes him up, that he likes to go there and get his own feel. So that seemed to be just another thing. He's willing to take in information and use what he wants to use.
Yeah, that was a fascinating comment. When you hear so much today about sim, you got to spend time in it. You got to be there. You got to put the hours in. And here's a guy that said, I don't want to know what it feels like on the sim. I just want to know what it feels like in the car. And I think that move, running the truck race, having that opportunity to run the truck race was a big advantage for him, understanding what the racetrack went. I think that paid off for Kyle Larson. But again, I just think all the talent that's in this kid's body is what it's all about. When you look at it, it's like this. It's like he goes out and processes things. And we started this conversation talking about his crew chief giving him more and pushing him farther. That's reminiscent of, in a lot of ways, of Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson arguing with each other, but they kept pushing each other to be better and better and better. But they don't take offense to it. Outside the race car, there is no offense. That's what we do, man. We go on and we get it done. I think that bodes to the caliber of team this is, totally, as a collective group, that this is a group that if they continue on this stretch, we saw what they did a couple of years ago. They had a little bit of an off year last year, and a little bit of an off year for Kyle Larson was still a great year. We used to say that about Jimmy Johnson and guys like that. But this does not bode well for the competition.
No, it doesn't. And if you think about the races that they could have won, they could have had better finishes. They had trouble late. And then on top of that, remember the last time that Kyle Larson won the All-Star race, he went on to win the Coke 600 Watch Out competition.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports at NBC YouTube channel.